All right, so we're diving into XRP's future today, and you brought some analysis connecting it to Bitcoin cycles.
Yeah, those halving events everyone's talking about.
Exactly. There's this engineer's model that caught my eye.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one.
It uses Bitcoin's history to kind of chart a potential path for XRP.
Makes sense.
So let's break this down.
Okay, so what I find really interesting is how it takes that historical Bitcoin data and uses it for future price projections.
Okay.
It looks at things like the halving events,
Mm-hmm.
but also like those market corrections.
Right, when things adjust after a big jump.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like a way to find patterns.
Yeah, trying to find patterns in all the chaos of the market.
Because, let's face it does feel chaotic sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
But this model isn't just some random guesswork.
No.
The source mentions it actually predicted Bitcoin hitting $70,000.
Back in 2024.
Right, before it really took off.
That's right, even before the hype.
So it does have some credibility.
It does, and it suggests that after this next halving event, Bitcoin could peak at get this $300,000 in 2025.
Whoa, hold on. $300,000.
That's what the model's pointing to.
That's way higher than the $70,000 prediction. What makes it jump so much?
Well, it's all based on past Bitcoin cycles.
Mm-hmm.
You see, the biggest price surges tend to happen after a halving.
Okay.
It's got to do with how Bitcoin works.
Okay.
So every 4 years or so, the reward for mining Bitcoin gets cut in half.
Right, the halving event.
Exactly. When that happens, the supply shrinks.
Less Bitcoin to go around.
While demand keeps rising.
More people wanting in.
Exactly. And that combo often leads to a price surge.
So basically, scarcity equals value.
Especially when more and more people want a piece of the pie.
Okay, I get that. But how does this Bitcoin forecast actually connect to XRP?
Well, the source points out this really interesting pattern.
Okay.
XRP tends to have its own price surge after Bitcoin goes up.
Interesting.
And historically, it's actually outperformed Bitcoin.
Really?
Yeah, in terms of relative gains, at least.
Right.
And get this happened even during the SEC lawsuit.
So even with all that legal uncertainty, XRP still rode that Bitcoin wave.
Exactly. It's pretty fascinating.
It is. So even with the lawsuit, it was still tied to Bitcoin's success.
It seems that way. Remember back in November 2021?
Uh-huh.
Bitcoin hit its all-time high, but XRP saw a 10x gain from its low point that same year.
So market forces, especially Bitcoin's performance, really can impact XRP.
That's what the data suggests, yeah.
Okay, so here's where things get really interesting for me.
Okay.
If this model is right about Bitcoin and XRP keeps following its lead,
Yeah.
are we talking serious gains for XRP then?
Potentially, yes. If history repeats itself and we see a similar 10x gain from XRP's previous high, like in 2021, we could be looking at $20 per XRP.
$20. All right, now you've got my attention.
It's definitely something to consider.
But let's not forget about the elephant in the room here.
Right.
The SEC case, a source mentions that too.
It does, and it highlights how XRP has rallied with every positive development in that case.
I mean, it makes sense.
For example, remember that recent not a security ruling?
Yeah.
XRP's price doubled overnight.
So the outcome of this case is going to play a big role.
Absolutely no doubt about it.
So a favorable ruling could push the price even higher.
It's definitely possible.
On $20 then.
It's within the realm of possibilities, especially when you factor in XRP's growing adoption in the financial world.
Right, and all those partnerships they've been making.
Exactly.
Okay, so $20 XRP, possible legal victory, growing adoption. This is getting exciting.
It is.
But before we get too carried away, you mentioned earlier that Bitcoin has these periods of correction after big rallies.
I did.
What does that actually mean?
Good question.
Could it happen again?
You're right to bring that up. Market corrections, they're a natural part of any financial cycle.
It makes sense.
Especially in a market as crazy as cryptocurrency.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Basically, it's a period where prices drop after a rapid increase.
So like a rebalancing.
Exactly, like a rebalancing act.
Okay.
And yeah, it's definitely possible we could see corrections in Bitcoin.
Even if it hits $300,000?
Even if it is $300,000, yeah.
So not necessarily a smooth ride up?
Not necessarily, no.
What could trigger a correction like that?
Well, a few things, actually.
Right.
Market sentiment. You know how people are feeling? Regulatory news, any new rules or changes.
Right.
Even like macroeconomic trends, the bigger picture stuff.
The whole economy.
Exactly. All of that can impact investor confidence.
And lead to people selling.
Lead to a sell-off, yeah, causing those prices to dip.
So a little caution is always good, even with all this potential.
Absolutely.
It's like that saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right?
Exactly. Diversification is key.
Spread the risk.
Spread the risk. Don't rely on just one thing.
Okay, good advice.
Always good to remember.
But let's get back to XRP for a sec.
Sure.
You said it outperformed Bitcoin in those past cycles.
It did.
Even during the SEC lawsuit.
Even with the lawsuit.
What drove that growth, even with all those legal challenges?
Well, it's a few things combined.
Like what?
First, XRP has a really strong use case in finance.
Okay.
It's designed for fast, low-cost cross-border payments.
Right, for sending money internationally.
Exactly. And that's a huge market.
It is huge.
The traditional ways can be slow and expensive.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
And XRP offers a much more efficient solution.
So instead of relying on those old banking systems,
Right.
they're using XRP to move money across borders better.
Exactly.
And it's already being used by some big institutions, right?
It is. We talked about those partnerships earlier.
Yeah, those partnerships are key.
And that adoption is only going to increase.
As more companies see the benefits.
Exactly. They're realizing how much easier and cheaper it is.
So it's not just hype.
No.
There's actual utility behind XRP.
Real-world use. That's what sets it apart from a lot of other cryptocurrencies.
That are still mostly speculation.
Right, still figuring out their place.
But what about regulations beyond the SEC case?
Good point.
Are there other hurdles for XRP?
That's a great question. The whole regulatory landscape for crypto is still evolving.
It's changing all the time.
Different countries have different approaches.
Which can be confusing.
It can create uncertainty, for sure.
So it makes it hard to know what to expect.
Yeah, but a lot of experts believe that clear, well-defined regulations will actually be good for the industry.
How so?
It'll bring more legitimacy, more stability.
Makes sense.
And that encourages wider adoption.
Right. People will be more comfortable using it.
Exactly. A standardized framework would help mitigate risks.
Reduce the risk.
And instill more confidence in investors.
And then more institutions would get involved?
Precisely. And we're already seeing some governments taking steps to create those frameworks.
So even with the challenges, there's optimism about the future?
Definitely the potential benefits of blockchain and cryptocurrencies like XRP are becoming more obvious.
People are starting to see the possibilities.
They are. And as the industry matures and regulations get clearer, we can expect even more adoption and growth.
That's exciting. This is all incredibly fascinating.
Glad you're enjoying it.
We've covered so much today.
We have.
Bitcoin's halving, cycle, XRP's performance.
The SEC case, the whole regulatory landscape.
It's a lot to take in.
It is a lot.
But before we finish up this part, let's connect this back to our listener.
Always important.
If someone's listening trying to figure out XRP's potential,
yeah,
what are the key takeaways?
What should they be thinking about?
Exactly.
Well, I think the key takeaway is that XRP has a strong foundation.
Okay.
It's built on real-world use, it's seeing growing adoption, and it has the potential for serious price appreciation.
Especially with that Bitcoin halving coming up.
And a potential win in the SEC case.
Those are big factors.
They are.
So real-world use, increasing adoption, and a potential price catalyst.
That's a pretty compelling combination.
It is, but like with all investments, there are risks.
Absolutely crucial to approach any investment cautiously.
Don't go all in without thinking.
Right. Do your own research. Never invest more than you can afford to lose.
Good advice.
And diversify your portfolio.
Spread that risk.
Always spread the risk.
Okay, excellent advice. Don't get caught up in the hype.
Right. Think for yourself.
Do your homework, make informed decisions.
Exactly.
This has been so insightful.
Glad to hear it.
I feel like I understand XRP so much better now.
That's the goal.
Before we move on to the last part of our deep dive,
okay,
I'd love to hear your thoughts on something.
Sure. What's on your mind?
We've been focusing a lot on the financial and technical side of XRP.
Right. The numbers, the tech.
But what about the real-world applications?
Getting into the practical stuff.
Yeah, like how is this technology actually being used today?
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's one thing to talk about it, but seeing it in action is something else.
Exactly. And one of the biggest examples that comes to mind is that Ripple partnership with MoneyGram.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
We touched on it earlier, but I want to dive a little deeper.
Sure.
How are they actually using XRP in their day-to-day business?
So MoneyGram, they're mainly using XRP for cross-border payments and foreign exchange settlements.
Okay.
Think about it the old way of sending money overseas.
Lots of middlemen.
Exactly. A whole chain of intermediaries.
Yeah.
Each one taking their cut.
And slowing things down.
Yeah. Adding time and cost.
Not very efficient.
Nope. But with XRP, MoneyGram can streamline everything.
Make it faster.
Faster, more efficient, and way cheaper.
So instead of relying on those old banking systems,
right,
which are slow and expensive,
they're using XRP to move money across borders more effectively.
It's like a whole new system.
It's a game changer for international money transfers.
And it's not just MoneyGram.
Nope. Ripple's partnered with a bunch of other financial institutions, too.
Like who?
Banks, payment providers, even some central banks are looking into XRP.
Central banks? Now that's interesting.
It is. They're exploring using XRP for interbank settlements and cross-border payments between countries.
So transactions between central banks could happen almost instantly.
That's the idea, with lower fees and more transparency.
It's amazing to think we could be on the verge of a whole new way of moving money around the world.
It really is.
And XRP is right at the center of it.
It's playing a key role, for sure.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
I've enjoyed it.
We've covered so much.
Bitcoin having XRP's potential real-world applications, the whole regulatory landscape.
It's a lot to process.
It is a lot.
As we wrap up, what's the one thing you hope our listener takes away from all of this?
I think the biggest takeaway is that while the future of any investment is uncertain, XRP is built on a solid foundation. Real-world use, growing adoption, the potential for real innovation.
It's a technology worth watching.
It is, and its future is going to be shaped by all the things we've talked about today.
Well said. And as always, we encourage our listeners to do their own research.
Absolutely.
Approach any investment cautiously. Never invest more than you can afford to lose.
Can't stress that enough.
The crypto world is always changing.
Always evolving.
Staying informed is key.
Couldn't agree more.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of XRP. Until next time.